Hi guys, welcome to a technique breakdown with the Grapplers Academy. Today we're going to be looking at the infamous shoulder crunch sweep, which Gordon Ryan has made quite popular. And we're going to be looking at the sweep that he got in his 2019 ADCC match against Buchecha.
We're going to be looking at all the tips and tricks and pointers that you need to effectively be able to add this into your game and make your open guard and sweeping a lot stronger, unlock a new branch and technique branch for you in your training.
What I like about this sweep is just the ease of it. Once you've sort of got the shoulder isolated and you've managed to get underneath that chin and that ability to sort of rotate through once you've got your hips underneath theirs, it's almost like they just sort of kind of float over. It's kind of like, feels like a very little resistant sweep, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like many things in jiu-jitsu. There's a couple of stages that you need to do to kind of get it locked up and set up, but once it's there, it's pretty easy to execute the finish, isn't it? And it's kind of one of those ones that you can do at a really relaxed pace. Kind of sit back, you've got everything locked up, and you can almost do it in slow motion to some extent. Actually, like Gordon Ryan's ability and the way that he executes it in this match is just a perfect example of that, because Buchecha is known as one of the most agile, best moving big players, and out of all the small players as well at ADCC, absolute legend of a guy. And he just, once everything's locked up, and there are a few things to lock up, he's just locked on and it's a super easy sweep. I don't think anybody was expecting it because of the ease and simplicity that it ends up getting pulled off with.
No, definitely. Like I said, I think that's part of the reason why we've sort of chose this clip for breaking the technique down, is it's just pulled off so elegantly. And you just sort of see hips come in the air, he's turning over, and once the sweep's landed, and I've got to applaud Buchecha here for not giving up the position when he is swept. But yeah, once the way it's going over, it's just kind of very effortless and, like I say, elegantly done.
Yeah, very much so. Like I think we've joked around before in the past and called it like the sloth sweep or something like that, because of the way that your opponent ends up being sprawled out and there's just that slow motion sweep of going over. It's one of those ones to be on the receiving end of, where you've got it locked up and you're like, oh my God, this is and you're just thinking about it as you're going over. You're like, what have I done?
Like that, the YouTube clip where the guy picks the sloth up that's crossing the road, and he sort of picks it up like this, and the sloth's just there going, oh.
That's how I feel being on the receiving end of this sweep. I'm just like, I know everything's gone wrong when I'm moving, and it's happening in slow motion, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, this is like one of my favourite kind of like go-to like butterfly sweeps. I land it quite regularly as well. And one of the guys that Hive, Jerry, like, it's been dubbed the Jerry sweep at the club, because he lands it nearly every round. He's landed it on me as well. Like, it's just one of those sweeps that once you've got it nailed and you've got the mechanics of it right, it just comes off so effortlessly and flawlessly.
The positioning of itself, though, has got a lot of other options as well, aside from just the sweep. There's a couple of arm lock options. You can come up in a better advantage position, can't you? But I think the elegance of the sweep and just pulling it off, and the positions that you can end up in, like you said, Buchecha here does a really good job of rolling out of it and not ending up underneath a mount or a side control, which is probably where you'd end up. 9 times out of 10, if somebody's hitting you with this sweep, they're probably going to be looking to come either and retain a mount position or pass the side control, aren't they?
Yeah. No, what I like to do for this is I keep hold of the arm, and I'll tend to, like, personally, I'll land in mount, and depending on what they do with their arm will dictate what my next steps are. Like, I'll either go for a head and arm choke from mount, or I will start to kind of try and get that straight arm lock with the arm, because it lands fully extended and you've got the whole shoulder isolated. So yeah, I'll either try and attack that or I'll go for the head and arm choke. Or like you said, drop down to side control and start to work from there as well.
Yeah, there's loads there, isn't there? Do you want to get the clip queued up and go through the bits that are like required to get into it?
Yeah, of course. I see it lined up.
Right, cool. So we're pretty early on in the match here, probably about 90 seconds on into the match, and Gordon Ryan's already on his back. He's got the inside hooks in with the legs, but Buchecha's doing a really nice job of tying up the hips and restricting a lot of Gordon Ryan's movement from the bottom. And that's really a key thing, isn't it? Like if somebody's playing butterfly guard, a big thing that's going to shut them down straight away is being able to tie the hips up and eliminate the movement.
Yeah, like you can see sort of Buchecha started to bypass one of the legs, kind of forcing Gordon into the half guard. And this is sort of one of my, especially against like a leg locker as renowned as Gordon Ryan is, you don't want to give them space to get inside your hips and elevate you to then isolate the legs. So passing low and providing this kind of pressure is great. And it kind of negates or slows down the leg lock entries. But like I said, it's not without its flaws. Like, nothing's perfect in this sport, but the way that he's sort of clamping down and controlling his hips really is a really nice way to start passing the guard from here.
Yeah, and like you said, that shutting down and bypassing of the hip is the next thing that Buchecha is probably looking from there. But you can see from the bottom that Gordon Ryan's trying to get those frames so he can start shrimping and getting his hips out. And that's really the first thing that he needs to do, isn't it? He needs to get rid of that control on his hips so he can unlock some of his movement and mobility to start getting something off.
Yeah, definitely. Should have a look at how he gets his feet in place and gets his hips in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we can see here is, at the moment, Gordon Ryan's doing a great job of framing, trying to create a little bit of space. And one thing I did like, just before we get on a little bit further, is the frame that Gordon Ryan had underneath Buchecha's chin. So you can sort of see him getting under the throat here. It's a really nice way to kind of stop the pressure player from putting pressure in.
Yeah, Shane was talking about this, wasn't he, when we were speaking about him, about his guard retention. He was saying either getting in underneath the chin and elevating, or using that head collar to create a distraction or a frame for pressure.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of movement going on here from Gordon Ryan. The one thing that I do like, and the good mentality that I think everybody should really adopt, is like not letting your opponent settle in a position. Because if he would have just been quite happy to settle in that position there, Buchecha is just going to worm his way up and past the legs, and Gordon's not giving him any opportunity to do that. Because of the frames that he's got in, and also the constant intelligent movement to not allow him to progress at his pace.
Yeah, definitely. Like there is like a slight risk here. Like you see Gordon Ryan go up onto his elbow. Buchecha could have come round and got the old Dagestani handcuff on him. They lost my tongue then. But and started to pass around the back from there. But as you can sort of see, there's a great job here of shrimping out and creating that space. And one thing that me and Bonn were trying to sort of figure out how he got his sort of hooks back in between them, especially with his left leg that you can see on the screen. And it took a little bit of watching to sort of see where he sneaks his knee in to then start to create a little fly position.
Yeah, and all that good work that Buchecha's done of tying the hips down from there, getting him into a half guard position, is now they're back in a neutral position. And as well, he didn't really look to play for a lot of leg entanglement or actually get a lot of leg lock finishes, did he? Mostly in this ADCC, and he said it himself, he was looking for back takes. And you know that style of play for this tournament. Although he did get a couple of leg lock finishes, or was it just one leg lock finish? I think he got.
Yeah, I think it might have been. Was it his first match?
I can't remember.
Hodgkinson.
Possibly.
I think so. I'm terrible with stats, if I'm honest with you. But
well, you can kind of see him almost looking for what he was wanting here when he was playing that position off his back in terms of like an arm drag to a back take, because that is one of the main systems that he's been playing with and has advertised as part of his main system from Butterfly. He's dragging the arm and coming up on the back, and you can kind of see where he's was playing around with some of those options there when he was trying to drag and pull the arm to set up for the sweep, which is what we're going to go into next.
Yeah. I think as well, what's nice to notice about the arm drag is it can go one of two ways, where if you're successful with it, you can get yourself round to the back. But also, if they pull back, it gives you space to then set up for what you want to get, what you want to come. So,
which is pretty much almost exactly what happens here, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And as you can see, he gets into this position here, which I think has been dubbed shoulder crunch. But is it Sumigashi or?
Yeah, I ain't going anywhere near anywhere the Japanese names after last time. I can guarantee that I'll mess it up again. So I don't want any negative feedback in the comments for me butchering any more Japanese terms for jiu-jitsu. So yeah, shoulder crunch sounds good. It looks like a shoulder crunch.
We'll call it shoulder crunch then. But like, what I'm a fan of is the grip that he's adopted here. I'm not too sure if it was because of the hand injury, but that butterfly grip he's gone for me, it's a very, very, very strong grip. Like, it's almost stronger than Gable grip, depending on the situation. And if we sort of look at where he's positioned his arms, he's not trying to go below the shoulder. He's actually on the shoulder joint and trying to put enough weight in it to try and... I always try and imagine that when I'm doing this, is I'm trying to dislodge the shoulder to put enough pressure in there where they sort of almost want me to sweep them to alleviate the pressure. And you can almost sort of see there's a lot of pressure going through Buchecha's shoulder at this point.
You can kind of look at where the angle of his back is going up and then his arms continuing up and then the break at the shoulder. You know, there's an incredible amount of pressure and force going down there, isn't there? Like, you can just see it looking at the angles of his body. And all credit to Buchecha again, weights all the way back, like he's trying to stop Gordon Ryan from getting his hips underneath him. But that latch that he's got on is just keeping him attached to him. And he's able to start working at getting underneath him, which is going to give him that option for the sweep that he's looking for. But yeah, I've been on the receiving end of it, and even though Buchecha's not showing anything there, you can guarantee that that isn't a comfortable position for him to be in.
No, definitely. I think as well, like you said about the angles, what's telling here is Buchecha's weight is all the way back, yet he's still got a hand on the mat to frame, to stop himself from falling forward. And I think we've got to sort of accredit that to Gordon's use of his butterfly hooks. Now, they're not going to be doing nothing. They're going to be driving into the hips and creating pressure on the thighs. And it's going to be sending his weight backwards. So you can see the angle of his hips. He's almost underneath Buchecha's hips there. And if he sort of keeps the pressure on there, falls backwards, he's going to pull Buchecha over him, giving him his hips. And as we sort of progress through this, we can sort of see that that's the case here when he does get the sweep.
So another thing that might be important to tack onto that just before we kind of progress with this is people who might not be overly familiar with this position. You might notice that Gordon Ryan's making an adjustment with his head to try and pinch Buchecha's forearm between his neck or the back of his head and his shoulder. Now, what's the importance of that, and why does he keep looking for that pressure?
Now, for this, it's to trap the arm, because if Buchecha was to rotate, get his elbow free and pull it back, he's going to lose that grip. And also, having this here, it's like having another grip. Everyone's got a lovely gap between their shoulder and their ear. And then if you've got a limb there and you're supporting it with your arms, and then you answer the phone with your shoulder, you've got another thing that's latched onto the joint. And it's another thing to secure the arm and the limb in place for what's to come next.
Yeah, because without that, there is a nice space there where Buchecha, even with that shoulder pressure, could probably quite easily drop his elbow and pull it out, and then they're just back to an open butterfly position there, aren't they? So that head pressure is really important. And actually, when you're doing it on the mats, that might be the thing that, as well as the other things, actually it makes or breaks on this technique.
No, definitely. I think another one as well, and this is a detail that tends to get forgotten about is the placement of the elbow that's down. So if you look at Gordon Ryan's left elbow, his forearm is perfectly is placed, ready to go underneath Buchecha's chin to essentially stretch him out, and he's going to use that lever under Buchecha's chin to actually help steer him in the direction that he wants to go. Again, adding to the mechanics and adding to the extra levers, that's going to help navigate the sweep and make it a lot easier.
Should we play through that so people can see the mechanics of what we're just talking about?
Yeah, because what we'll do, we'll play it through normal speed first, and then we'll allow them to go through it slowly. And what we'll do, we'll pause it there and we'll go back, because we all know that he scrambles and Gordon Ryan stays on top. But the important part here is the sweep that he gets.
And this sweep got a big reaction from the crowd, didn't it?
Yeah. So you can sort of see straight away the pressure that Gordon Ryan's applying with his butterfly hooks into Buchecha's hips. And you can sort of see Buchecha sort of pulling himself back and staying there. Now, as soon as he starts to move, Gordon Ryan comes onto his back. Now, if you watch his left elbow go straight underneath Buchecha's chin as he's rotating him, and he's falling to his right. Now, another thing as well, the reason that this arm's trapped, or Buchecha's left arm, is that's the frame that Buchecha will be using to stop himself from being swept. And this sweep falls under the same principles of any sweep, is you take the frames away and then you look to rotate rather than just trying to turn someone over.
So then if we kind of go down the rest of the body and look at what's actually causing that rotation, it's the left butterfly hook on the inside thigh of Buchecha, which is causing the elevation. And then what Gordon Ryan does, which is nice as well, is uses the right leg to come down and block, and effectively similar sort of mechanics to a scissor sweep, isn't it? So the outside knee is being blocked there, and you can see he kicks through with that inside thigh exactly there at the same time that he's steering over with the chin, and causes that rotation on the upper body to be assisted by the rotation on the lower body, or the extension with the legs. And that is the mount position that we were talking about before, isn't it?
Yeah. So before sort of Buchecha does a great job here of booking to get Gordon Ryan off. But like you said, Bon, this is the position that you tend to end up in. And if you can extend this arm, there's a lovely straight arm lock. But sometimes as well, they will fight to get the arm free, but that tends to go up near their head. So you just need to adjust your grip to then isolate the head and the arm. And then you can start to work that head and arm choke as well.
Yeah, and I think Buchecha does a good job of continuing with the momentum of the roll, just enough to get Gordon Ryan off balance on the top.
Yeah.
And, you know, he could have got his back taken there, potentially, looking at it in super slow motion. But again, like we were talking about before at the opening, this doesn't let his opponent settle and is continuously looking to move and not let him play the game at his pace. And does a great job of getting out of what was a really nice sweep.
No, definitely. And like I said, it just goes to show the skill level of both of these athletes. Like, we know, a lot of people know how good Gordon Ryan is. And a lot of the new players may not be as well-versed in Buchecha's achievements. But this guy's been winning weight and absolute tournaments at the Worlds since, I think it's 2011. Now,
it's insane. I had to double check before. He's only 30 years old now. Like, the achievements that this guy's had over the past 10 years are incredible. He's won everything almost, hasn't he?
Yeah, and that's in the
still only 30 years old.
Yeah. Like, he's won ADCC 2013 and 17. He's won Pans, IBJJF Worlds in a gi and no gi. Countless opens, Abu Dhabi Pros. So it's not like Gordon Ryan swept a bum. He's swept one of the best in the world.
Yeah, and somebody with some really impressive physical attributes as well. Like, he's definitely always been one of the bigger guys out there competing. Definitely the bigger out of the two in this match. I think probably only, and they're going to be able to manipulate him pretty easy. Now, that's not the case here.
No. And also as well, not having that as just your main go-to, because there are counters to it, and if your opponents or your training partners know the counters or just know how to avoid it, you're gonna be stuck. So yeah, definitely I'd learn how to use that shoulder crunch and maximize its effectiveness, but in the same light, add more tools to it as well, and start on your ass. Like, play guard, and it's at the end of the day, it's grappling. Whether you're going to take down or you're going to pull guard, it's still grappling. But if you want to improve your open guard game, play open guard for the majority of your roles. That's what about yourself? Any advice yourself?
Yeah, it doesn't get much more simple than that, does it? To be honest, if you want to improve at something, you're going to have to spend time doing it.
Yeah.
And play it against the less experienced guys in the gym, play it against the more experienced guys at the gym, and just see which reactions you get. And start to add on and build onto that as a system, because, as you said, that's point one. That's like ground zero in terms of control there, isn't it? And then these different branches you can go off on the tree on it.
Yeah.
You've got your sweeps like we've just seen in that match today, but then also you can change your position and come up on various different arm locks, and there's a lot of different places to go from there. But yeah, just like get used to playing in that position and just spend time there. Any position that you want to improve on in jiu-jitsu, you're just going to have to spend more time doing ultimately, and get data crunch and build up that database of reactions from people.
No, I have to agree with that. And pick partners that are going to challenge you. Like, don't just obviously, we're going to cover this on using when we talk about using how all your training partners, but use each partner appropriately. So if you're trying to learn something new, then yeah, start with the less experienced players where you can figure the mechanics, figure out how to work it, and then slowly, progressively move up the experience chain. But yeah, make yourself vulnerable and put yourself in those positions where you're going to be challenged and forced to use the techniques you want to improve on.
I think also as well, probably important just on that is this might be a new technique to some people who've been doing jits for a long time or grappling for a long time. Like, with anything new, if you're going to start trying it and it's not part of your A game, you're going to get beat.
Yeah.
You're going to get your guard passed, and it's going to feel like you're a white belt again. It's going to be really easy for you to just go back to the things that you're good at because you're getting beat with this new thing that you're trying. So kind of just check your ego at the door with it and persevere with learning the technique. And you'll notice over the weeks as you persist with it that actually you're getting one step further every time. Just think back to when you first started and your main goal for the session was not to get tapped in that session.
Yeah.
Kind of just impose that mentality on this new technique.
And if that mentality is something new to you, have a listen to our other episode, Training Through Bad Days, because again, if you're trying new techniques, you're going to have a lot more bad days than good days while it's new. So go back to our previous episode and get a few notes from there on how to make the most out of those bad days when you are trying something new. Thanks for watching another episode of the Grapplers Academy. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit the like button and also hit that subscribe button.
And if there's anybody out there that you think could benefit from anything that we talked about today, don't forget to share the video and pass that information on.